Hey, what's up, nerds? It is Paul here at Radio Free Hammer Hall, and today it is story time. I had a fantastic game of Age of Sigmar last night that is reinvigorating me for all things Age of Sigmar, and I wanted to tell you guys the story. Maybe it will give you some mojo yourself. Maybe it'll just be a good story. Maybe you'll just hit the dislike button like so many people do. I don't really care. I just feel like talking about it and putting this out there on the internet. I was like live tweeting pictures and shit while the game was going on. So if you follow me on Twitter, you've already seen some of this story. Um, so I've been in a little bit of an Age of Sigmar funk, and like I need to change things up, right? And so I reached out to one of my friends, Jacob, who is one of my regular opponents. He runs a lot of our local RTTs, and was like, "Do you want to just play like a stupid game this week?" He's like, "Sure." So he brings nonsense. I bring nonsense. I bring a Nurgle list with a Great Unclean one with Sword and Flail, Rodigus, 3 units of Blight Kings, a unit of 10 Plague Bearers, and a Beast of Nurgle. That was my list. His list was Ogre Maw Tribes, led up by Kragnos, 2 Stonehorns, an Icebrow Hunter, and 3 units of Frost Sabers, and a Fire Belly. So this is the kind of bullshit that we're playing right now. It is just like crazy monster mash. I dig out an oldie but goodie. I from the depths of my collection, I pull out the Open War deck, the original Open War deck, copyright 2017. So this was a very old little artifact. For those of you that are not familiar with Open War, it is a system that's very similar to what you have for Warcry for how you do deployment and scenarios and all of that stuff. It's actually really the other way around. Warcry got all of that system from Open War. And originally, Open War was just a deck of cards, and later new versions of it got printed in general's handbooks that were tables that you could roll dice on. Anyway, that's not really the important part. The story of Open War. Open War is cool. Open War is fun. Somehow I have literally never actually opened that deck of cards before, which is kind of like starting to lead me down this path of like there's all of this shit in Age of Sigmar that like I think I had a mental block about and I've never touched, and I should, and I am going to, and we're going to have a blast. So I said, let's play Open War. Okay. So for deployment, we just agreed because of the way we were at our local shop, the way the tables are set up there, it's hard to do anything other than the normal like horizontal 12-inch deployment. So we're just like, okay, we're going to go with that. And then we're just going to pull cards for everything else. So our objectives for this game, we each got to take turns placing objectives on the map. We each placed 3. At the start of each player's turn, they roll a d6 for each objective they control. And if you roll a 6, that is where you find the treasure. You remove all of the other objectives from the battlefield. That becomes the one objective, and the winner of the game is the player that controls that at the end of 5 battle rounds. So we did that. We just kind of scattered them around. Not a big deal. Our twist card that we pulled, that is one of the other things in here that is the same in Warcry. There's a twist card. All melee profiles are +1 attack. So we could tell like right from the start, this is going to be like a crazy beefy game, right? Like shit's just going to die everywhere. It's going to be great. And then in the Open War deck, something that I don't believe is in Warcry, we each randomly drew a ruse card, which those are basically like hidden agenda type things. They're like once per game special abilities. So we dealt one out to each other and deployed, got all set. We used the old 6x4 table size because, hey, we didn't have like the correct size mat, so we just played on the old size mat. Guess what, guys? 3.0 plays the same on a 6x4 table as it does on, the 60 inches by 44 inches, whatever. It's the same. So if that is ever an issue for you, don't worry about it. I'm gonna make another video about other ways to play and have a good time, and I'm gonna talk more about that there. But so yeah, we get deployed, and immediately after deployment, we get all set up, we shake hands, good luck. Immediately he flips up his ruse. He gets to redeploy his entire army up 12 inches. His entire goddamn army that's already charging on 3d6 gets a 12-inch pregame move. And he's going first. Thank God I deployed my Great Unclean Ones back and used Blight Kings to screen for them, assuming that his stuff was going to come screaming, charging in at me. So yeah, that happened. So turn one, he throws his frost sabers and everything onto objectives. Stonehorns and Kragnos come crashing into my lines. Immediately the unit of plague bearers just get popped by Kragnos immediately. Like, it was not even a contest. The two Stonehorns went into units of Blight Kings, and they did some trading, basically. The Blight Kings did some damage back. The Stonehorns took out some Blight Kings. Some things happened. Right? So, that was basically it for top of turn one. Comes over to my turn. I charge Rodriguez into Kragnos. I was not able to get my second Great Unclean One into position to actually get a charge off. He failed despite a command point reroll. So my other units that were free, I just jumped onto objectives to actually play the objective game, and Great Unclean Ones are going to go get in a scrap and get some work done. So I charged Rodriguez into Kragnos, and he doesn't do a lot of damage. It turns out when most of your attacks are, Rend 1 or Rend 2, and you're going into a unit with 18 wounds on a 2-up save and a 6-up ward, you don't do a lot of damage. I did get quite a bit of disease on him, though, and I did get a good number of mortal wounds with disease off, thanks to the host of Nurglings. Super there. MVPs of the game, those hosts of Nurglings on the bases of the Great Unclean Ones. So, but like, mission was definitely accomplished there. Like, Kragnos didn't get to charge a monster. Thank God. Did not charge a monster. And Rodriguez, I believe he survived the first round of combat. So we went into the second battle round. Nobody's rolled a 6 on any of the objectives yet, so we're all just still sort of sitting on objectives. He wins priority again. And, we just proceed to slog through, right? Like, the Stonehorns work their way through my Blight Kings, and Kragnos puts the finishing touches on Rodriguez. Great. So then I tried on my turn to get my Great Unclean One over to charge in, and he fails his charges again. So that was awesome, but I got to flip up my ruse after Rodriguez died, which let me bring a unit back onto the battlefield that's been slain. So 495 points of Rodriguez get dropped back on the battlefield, um, within 9 inches of the board edge and 9 inches away from enemy units. So that was fun. So now, that card effectively was letting me play like a 2,500 point game versus a 2,000 point game. So, I mean, a little bit unfair, but he got to move 12 inches at the start of the game, with 3d6 charges on Kragnos. So the other funny story, though, about all of those 3d6 charges is that despite that, he was still rolling like fives for charges. Not like 5 on the dice, like you tally up 3 dice and they were 5. Like including like, okay, that was a low roll. I'm going to command point reroll that. And like, okay, that 5 becomes a 6. So like those stone horns were not doing a lot of damage with their charge, with their big ogre charges. Which was good for me. That worked out quite well. But anyway, getting back to the actual story of the game, my Great Unclean One, he failed his charge into Kragnos, which means, of course, Jacob got priority in the next battle round, and Kragnos charged my Great Unclean One. Kragnos completed his charge, and for his little special ability where he gets to roll 2 dice and multiply them together and do that many mortal wounds, he rolls boxcars. He rolls 36 motherfucking mortal wounds onto my Great Unclean One. Now, let me tell you, the Great Unclean One only had like 3 wounds on him. So he needed to, out of 36, he could have, with some good rolling, survived. And he almost did survive. And with his mortal wound reflection ability on his ward save, he actually almost killed Kragnos. That was absolutely hilarious. And then with disease and all of that stuff, Kragnos gets dropped down to 1 wound remaining. And what happens with that 1 wound remaining? I get my revenge. I charge in with a Beast of Nurgle and pop Kragnos with a Beast of Nurgle charge. It was very satisfying. The rest of the game was just grinding out the last 2 stone horns and taking out the frost sabers. I found the treasure on one of the objectives that I controlled, and I had my Beast of Nurgle and a full health unit of Blight Kings sitting on it. And all of the monsters were dealt with, so the game was mine at that point. But yeah, I mean, it was some crazy swings, right? Like, oh my god, I'm getting charged top of 1 with all of this stuff. Oh, you flub all of your charge rolls, though, and don't do a ton of mortal wounds to me. But you kill a bunch of my stuff, and then I fail charges back into you, and then you spike Rodriguez, but I bring him back, and then you spike my Great Unclean One, but then he almost kills Rodriguez, and then, or not Rodriguez, Kragnos, and Kragnos then gets dropped to a Beast of Nurgle, whose name now is Slimer, because he got him with the Slime Trail. Beast of Nurgle has earned his name for killing Kragnos. So yeah, I mean, that's it. It was actually a pretty quick and dirty game. It probably only took us a little over an hour to play. Setup was quick and easy. We used the open war deck. It was actually a pretty balanced game. We were still using match play points and army construction and all of that stuff. Our lists weren't totally ridiculous. Any list that you throw Kragnos into is a pretty serious list these days, apparently. So, but the point is, we had an awesome time, and we had way more fun doing that than we would have if we had just picked one of the 12 missions out of the General's Handbook. Wild and crazy stuff happened. And we had a great time. And just all of the dopamine that was flowing from the ups and downs of that game just has reinvigorated me for Age of Sigmar. And I am ready to, I have not hobbied like at all in like months. Um, I'm I've got an army project that I am accumulating stuff for that I am have not yet begun. I have not finished my Archaon yet. I got my bits in finally. Shout out to Maroc Wolf for all of the bits that he made for me to finish up my Varengard, so I can maybe finish my Slaves to Darkness army. Um, just in time for Slaves to Darkness to be like at the top of the meta, obviously. Um, uh, but yeah, so I'm gonna be digging into now like all of the like narrative and open play resources that are around and doing some videos on those because there's a lot of material out there, and like everybody always just plays these same 12 missions over and over again, and I know I play these same stupid 12 missions over and over again, and I am protesting. I'm putting my foot down. There's all of this stuff out there that Games Workshop has lovingly provided to us. That the rules team has put time and effort into printing into books, and people aren't using it, and they should be. And I'm going to talk about it more, and I am going to be championing that more. It. Definitely loving the more narrative style of gaming. Um, was there a story behind the game that we played? No. Did it generate an amazing narrative and an amazing story? Did we have a great time? Yes. So that is like an absolute win. It like I left the table wanting to go find, not just go play again, but go find more resources to have fun more different ways. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you all later.